I want to warn you that I will be discussing heavy and unpleasant topics in this video. If you stay tuned, you will know what to expect. You've probably never heard the term hurtcore. I'm not saying hardcore at all, I'm saying hurt, as in to harm. This term refers to extremely graphic pornography based on inflicting pain, especially on vulnerable people, including children and even babies. You must know this term because this story revolves around this disgusting practice. Now, let's meet the main protagonist of our story. Mathew Falder, born on October 24, 1988, in Manchester, England. He hailed from a relatively wealthy and normal family, supported by his father, Stephen Falder, who was the head of HMG Paints, the UK's largest independent paint manufacturer. From a young age, Falder was a standout student, attending the prestigious King's School in Macclesfield, where he excelled academically. His academic journey continued at Clare College, University of Cambridge, where he earned both a master's degree and a doctoral degree. He was well liked by his friends, who described him as outgoing, funny, and larger than life. None of them knew or suspected the depravity of his behavior when he sat in front of his computer. In the shadows of the internet, Falder was a committed pedophile, revered within the virtual community of abusers to which he belonged. He specialized in hurtcore pornography, which involved images of physical abuse of women and children, as well as violent sexual acts against them.
Rap Sheet from Hell unearths the horrifying details of one of the most prolific sexual abuse offenders the NCA has ever investigated.
His relentless pursuit of the victims, and he would stop at nothing to exploit them, to make them feel sad, humiliated or unhappy.
It was all about the complete and total power and control over another person.
It was within these forums that Falder would boast about targeting and sadistically abusing children online. One of his tactics involved posting as a female artist called Liz on Gumtree, where he approached individuals advertising babysitting or dog walking services. He offered them as much as £4,000 for nude pictures, claiming it was part of his therapy to sketch people in charcoal. Falder also employed this tactic in forums that catered to vulnerable individuals, particularly those who were lonely and struggling to cope, including young caregivers and those suffering from eating disorders. Once Falder received the images, he would then blackmail the children, stating that he would send them to the child's parents and school friends unless they sent even more depraved and humiliating pictures with him directing what they did. One victim, a 15-year-old girl, was so scared that she was forced to send forward 200 intimate photographs of herself for fear of what he might reveal.
I sent him some pictures, and as soon as he got that information, he must have gone on the internet. He sent a threatening email saying he'd found me on Facebook, he knew all my friends, he knew where I went to school. He would say, "This is your school, these are your friends, and if you don't do what I say, I'm going to tell everyone."
He would install secret recording devices in his home address or public toilets and would film his victims in compromising situations. Using his skills, he would identify them via social media in order to blackmail them. This video shows the full installation of one of these covert devices to hack the Facebook accounts of some of his victims. By uploading the videos he had taken, and then stating they would only take them down if they sent him images of them degrading themselves for mainly targeted female children. But he also exploited male children as well as male and female adults.
So he was using a majority of area, social media, where he then lure people in, children and adults.
And the things she got them to do are incredibly disturbing, with one 15-year-old girl fooled to blackmail her into eating dog food, licking a toilet seat, licking a dirty toilet brush, licking a used tampon, pinning bulldog clips to her genitals, writing words from slur on herself, and making videos holding up homophobic and racial slurs, which was directed by Falder. He also targeted a vulnerable young man in America, and after obtaining compromising photos of him, Falder blackmailed him over months, including demanding that he film himself covered in his own waste-eating toilet paper, tying weights to his genitals, and filming his mother and his sister using the toilet. Falder would direct him to upload these disgusting videos to the internet. This also included a clip of this victim describing in graphic detail an apparent fantasy he had about sexually assaulting a black child that was littered with racial slurs. One of the other people Falder targeted was a 15-year-old girl in foster care, who was told her disabled brother would be taken away from her if she did not keep sending pictures of herself, fooled to demand as she posed with the sign that said, quote, "I look after my disabled brother, and now I'm being forced to strip Falder. also encouraged the abuse of real children, including a 2-year-old boy in America, with him directing the father of this child to seriously sexually assault and torture this poor child, including covering him in urine and then sending these videos. Falder victims begged him to stop, as Falder's lack of remorse was shown by his complete indifference to their suffering. If a victim threatened to kill themselves, he would state that their death would not stop him from distributing the images to their friends and family. He made it clear that their only choice was to continue to obey his demands. As he stated to one victim, their only options were complete destruction or being a slave. Falder would also threaten his victims' family members, stating that if he did not get what he wanted, he would figure out a way to harm their wider family, including reporting them to the police for some imaginary crime or having their siblings taken into care. Falder would brag about the fact that reporting his behavior to authorities was pointless, as he could not be traced, and if anyone tried this, would lead to material being distributed not only to their immediate family, but sometimes onto the wider internet. Falder was eventually convicted of offenses related to 46 victims, but it's estimated that he may have targeted over 200 men, women, and predominantly children over the 8 years he was engaged in this behavior. Throughout this time, Falder was bragging about its behavior on various message boards for other disturbed individuals. In one email exchange, Falder told one of the members of these groups about manipulating a 14-year-old girl into sending him decent images, and that he was also trying to encourage her to become anorexic. He stated a quote, "I will see if I can get enough info to blackmail her, but if not, I'm thinking of just betraying her as harshly as I can to see how much I can mentally F her up. I think there's even a bit of a chance of suicide with another 14-year-old victim, Falder, who said he would mentally F her up and quote, I'm not sure I care if she lives or dies."
So what was it I've done? Oh, what was it I'm supposed to have done?
The offences that I've arrested you on suspicion of being involved in were blackmail, causing or inciting a child to engage in sexual activity, possessing indecent images of children.
Sounds like the rap sheet from hell.
Distributing indecent images of children, and causing GBH injuries to a person.
Falder's online offending was detected as early as 2009, and over the years, his behavior became known to numerous police forces around the world for approximately 5 years. From 2012, a special task force involving the National Crime Agency, the UK's equivalent to the FBI, GCHQ, the UK's Communication Intelligence Agency, Homeland Security, the FBI, the Australian Federal Police, Europol, as well as law enforcement in Israel and Slovenia, worked to identify Falder. By 2017, the net was closing in, and this task force had revealed Falder's identity and was collecting evidence of his horrific crimes. Falder had no idea that his days of freedom were numbered and was unaware that he was being covertly monitored by officers from the National Crime Agency, as shown by this footage. By 2017, the police had all the evidence they needed to arrest Falder. The next part of this video shows that moment, as well as this initial interrogation where he gave a no-comment interview.
Accounts, Matthew, that you're using at the current time?
No comment.
If there are any more email accounts, what are the passwords for?
No comment.
Have you done that?
No comment.
Have you sent pictures of your blackmail victims to the parents
No comment.
of the victim, the grandparents,
No comment.
the workplace,
No comment.
the schools?
No comment.
Did you get any sexual gratification of that
No
from
comment.
that? Or was it a power and control thing, Matthew?
No comment.
Or was it humiliation?
No comment.
You go on to say, and so you know, I know I'm 100% anonymous. How's that, Matthew?
No comment.
At Birmingham Crown Court, Falder pleaded guilty to 137 charges related to 46 separate victims. These included inciting children to commit sexual acts, blackmail, possession of indecent images of children, inciting others to commit sexual acts against children, and voyeurism. Given the gravity of his offences, it took hours just to read out all of the charges against Falder. At his sentencing at Birmingham Crown Court, Falder was described by Judge Philip Parker QC as warped and sadistic, whose behavior was cunning, persistent, manipulative, and cruel.
He described the same man as an unrelenting tormentor, cruel, manipulative, cunning, and dangerous. The damage to his victims, the judge added, will never end.
With him adding that he wanted to assume total control over his victims before sentencing him to 32 years in prison.
Judge Philip Parker QC, in sentencing Falder to 32 years behind bars.
Judge Parker described Falder as a dangerous offender and said, "These sentencing remarks underplay your relentless obsessive desire to continue committing offenses." In October 2018, Falder's sentence was reduced by 7 years to 25 years after he appealed the sentence as too severe. By my basic calculations, Falder will need to serve approximately another 12 years before he's eligible to apply for parole, so he could potentially be released in his mid to late 40s. It's clear that Mathew Falder is a deeply disturbed man whose crimes will take years to understand. However, I think some indicators help us to understand his behavior a little better just from information in the public domain. In particular, while Falder was described as outgoing and personable, he was also described as being arrogant and aloof. Also, I think the judge, in my opinion, hit the nail on the head about Falder wanting to control his victims. I think this is not the case with Falder. Instead, I believe that his academic accomplishments, which resulted in him obtaining a place at one of the most prestigious universities in the world, led him to think that he was far superior to everyone else and that he should be allowed to treat anyone in any way he wanted because they were beneath him. I think that Falder gained a great level of sexual gratification from wielding power over his victims and reinforcing to them that he could, at any moment, destroy their lives. This behavior indicates that he's a sadist, someone who gains pleasure from the distress or pain of others. He also surely loved getting praise from other perverts online, so this deference from his victims and praise from his peers likely reinforced his perception that he was untouchable. I truly believe that due to his arrogance and narcissism, Falder had no idea the net was closing in and likely felt he would never receive a knock at the door. Luckily he did, and his reign of terror was brought to an end. So, what are your thoughts on the case? The crimes of Mathew Falder raise a troubling question about policing the internet. Has it grown to the point where making it a safe place for children is now impossible? This case starkly illustrates the horrific potential for the internet to be exploited for malevolent purposes and the enduring scars left on the victims of such heinous acts. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay tuned. Goodbye.